Big headache for people living in Enumclaw and Buckley this morning. The White River Bridge on Highway 410 is closed indefinitely after a semi crashed into the bridge on Monday. Let's give you a closer look at where this is. This is Buckley. This is Enumclaw. Right here is where that White River Bridge is. It's about 4 miles between the two cities. Normally it would take you about 10 minutes to get between the two. Well, because of this bridge closure, Buckley residents will now have to drive all the way up through Auburn to get to Enumclaw, an extra 45 minutes at least. Savannah Welch is live in Enumclaw this morning tracking this bridge closure. Savannah, one of the big concerns with this bridge shutdown is how is this going to impact emergency response times?
Yeah, Mimi, I mean, there is good news in that regard where emergency officials can still cross over the river while using the Foothills pedestrian bridge. And that pedestrian bridge is on the other side of those trees. And that bridge is built for emergency vehicles for situations exactly like this. Now let's show you an aerial view of the White River Bridge with our King 5 drone. Let's show you that video. 3 WashDOT inspection crews assessed the damage yesterday. They said the bridge will remain closed until engineers determine the integrity of the bridge. Now, this closure blocks cars, bikes, and pedestrians. It's a steel truss bridge. It was built back in 1949. The bridge was last inspected in April, and it was determined to be in fair condition. Now, again, as Mimi said, the next closest crossing, that's all the way up in Auburn. That's at the R Street Southeast Bridge. Now, in the meantime, for the pedestrian bridge, emergency crews are asking people to make way and let emergency vehicles get through, and maybe just hold off crossing that bridge if you see an emergency vehicle coming, so they can get by and get over the river.
We just don't know.
Savannah Welch, King 5 News.
Yeah, Savannah, sorry, before you go, real quick, the bridge has been hit before by a truck. Does that incident help us understand how long this closure could last?
Yeah, so Jake, you're right. This bridge was hit before also, and that actually shut down the bridge twice for repairs. That was back in 2015. So we've seen how vulnerable these steel truss designs can really be, even with the I-5 Skagit River Bridge collapse. That was back in 2013, so very vulnerable designs. So WashDOT's really trying to assess the damage, make sure that something like that doesn't happen again here, especially with it being in fair condition back when it was assessed earlier this year. So we'll have to see how long this will take, but as of now, it's closed until further notice.
Yeah, well, now we saw in Mount Vernon, one hit of that steel truss bridge can cause a domino effect. Thank you, Savannah. Let's talk about this detour, Shantae. 38 miles around the bridge. It's going to be a critical incident for the school district coming up, too.
Yeah, when you think about it, especially for some of those people right on the borderline between that school, White River School District and Enumclaw. Now, if you are heading out this morning, you want to factor in probably at least an hour just to be prepared because of how massive this detour is. So you can see these arrows here showing you can get on 164, Highway 164 to Highway 18 to Highway 167. Now, that is a detour that is being recommended by WashDOT. Of course, a lot of you know you can kind of cut through in Auburn and then trickle down that way, but it will likely take the same amount of time or even longer because of just the amount of pressure that typically goes through that bridge. We're talking 22,000 vehicles a day. So just make sure to factor in that extra time if you do have to use that detour.